How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Last Man Standing, episode 24 of the NFL Survivor Pool podcast. We're going to be talking a lot about Circa Survivor, our reaction to the Week 11 selection counts that just came out minutes ago. My name is Tony Farmer. His name is Ryan Hogue, last man standing in the 2003 NFL Draft, drafted by the Raiders. And as I learned last episode, it was selection number 262. Do I have that right, Ryan? Nailed it. It's locked away up here. We're going to be, again, reacting to that Week 11 selection count. What we're not going to do on this show is do an analysis of every single Week 11 game because we already did that on Thursday. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure, check that out, give it a like. We also had a special guest on that show, former NFL tight end Jermaine Wiggins, who had a great career in the NFL, caught passes from Tom Brady, won a Super Bowl ring. So you can hear his thoughts on this Week 11 action as well. Ryan, where are you and what are you up to today, man?
I am in Newport Beach, in my place in Newport Beach, California, living the dream, dog sitting this weekend. And so I'm my ability to go out and about is hampered, but that means I just watched a lot of college basketball today. And I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, and you're going to have you're going to have a buddy to watch the football games with tomorrow, eh?
Well, my duties end tonight, so.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, good deal. All right.
Where are you, Tony?
Austin, Texas, per usual, man. Austin, Texas. I may be out in Vegas for Thanksgiving, though. That is something that I'm rolling around in my head right now and considering. So that might be happening. Perhaps I'll be on the West Coast with you soon. But as I said, we're going to talk about the selection count for Week 11. Before we get there, though, I had a question, Ryan, that I meant to ask you last week about the Raiders that I forgot to. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you now. I know that you feel pretty strongly that Gardner Minshew is a better quarterback than Aidan O'Connell, better fit for the Raiders right now. If the Raiders make the move next week, the week after that, to Desmond Ridder, how do you see that impacting the Raiders offense? And is that an upgrade or downgrade from Minshew? Is that an upgrade or downgrade from Aidan O'Connell?
Well, I think it's pretty telling, the fact that they didn't make a move during the bye week with this change of offensive coordinator. They fired their offensive coordinator. They fired their offensive line coach. They fired their quarterback coach, I believe, all three of those coaches, right? So the natural sentiment around the locker room was if a change was to happen, it would make sense. And I go back to what Mike Tomlin had said when he made the change from Fields to Russell Wilson. And that was, if you remember way back, and we have it on this show, is I was in favor of Russell Wilson. And what people don't understand is, right, there's thousands of reps that you and I don't see, that the coaches see, that they evaluate, and that ultimately leads to a decision. People around the building obviously knew Russell Wilson was a better quarterback than Justin Fields. I knew it as a former player just watching. And I believe that although Gardner Minshew hasn't played well, the thing is he's only missed a couple throws a game. Those throws happen to be monumental and game changers. And in the NFL, as you know, Tony, every game comes down to usually the last possession. And, some teams get away with it. Bo Nix throws 4 or 5 passes a game where you're just like, oh my gosh, that guy shouldn't even be in the NFL. Yet somehow they don't end up costing the team the game. And whether it's through a person's fingers or, look at Jameis Winston, I think right now has the most, he's only played 2 games and he has the most passes thrown that should have been interceptions, but people just don't catch them. So sometimes that just happens. Gardner is the opposite. He only has a couple throws game that they end up being very, very monumental. And so when I watch and assess Gardner Minshew, it's a bigger problem than the Raiders offense being him, right? I mean, he certainly needs to play better, and everybody would agree with that, but he is not the problem. And changing the quarterback isn't going to change their offensive luck.
Got you. Good stuff there from Ryan, who does the pregame shows for the Raiders. If you guys have any comments, we've already heard from Bob checking in, saying he loves Newport Beach as well. If anybody else has any questions for Ryan or I, go ahead and drop a note. But I'm going to go ahead without further ado and pull up this Week 11 Survivor selection or Circa Survivor selection counts. Ryan's seeing this for the first time. I'm still digesting this. I saw this a couple minutes ago. We said on Thursday's show, I can't wait to see how many people pick the Lions. And here we go with 34 people on the Lions. I don't know about you, Ryan. This was higher than I thought. I was expecting the Lions to come in maybe second or third. I was expecting Miami to be the number one selection this week. One, because more people had Miami available. Two, because of the Thanksgiving implications. Yeah, Miami has a Thanksgiving game too, but the Lions have a much better matchup against the Bears. So I was surprised to see so many people burn the Lions here in this spot. Interesting. Top three teams, actually, I'm just now noticing top three teams are all Thanksgiving options: Lions, Dolphins, and Packers. So it seems like people have already kind of started to make their mind up what they're going to be doing on Thanksgiving, and they're picking teams that obviously aren't in their Thanksgiving plans. 11 people on the Vikings here against the Titans. Not a surprising number, but those 11 people, I think, may be in for a sweat, Ryan. The more I think about this game, I think the Titans might be live for an upset here. Also, don't forget the Vikings have a new kicker. The Vikings have a new long snapper. There was a bad snap last week. They ended up making the field goal because the holder bailed the long snapper out, but some special teams concerns for the Vikings, and then offense looked bad last week, as we covered on Thursday's show. And how about 7 people on the Rams? Christian Barmore back for the Patriots, first game back after his blood clot issue. So that defensive line got a little better. And I tell you what, Ryan, when you add someone to the defensive line, it can make the secondary a little bit better too. It can make the linebackers play a lot better too. So that's a big addition up front there for the Patriots. 5 people on the Texans, 4 on the 49ers, and 2 on the Cleveland Browns, Ryan. I told you I like Cleveland in this game betting wise on the side, on the money line, but those 2 people have some balls to be taking them in Circa Survivor. What stands out for you, buddy, when you look at these numbers?
Well, first and foremost, that Cleveland, I mean, that's at best a coin flip, plus it's on the road. And, you know, the Saints didn't play poorly last week, obviously, with their new coach, and Carr actually has been playing pretty decent football. If you look at his stats through the entire year, he had some nice hookups, or nice throws at least, to Valdez-Scantling last week. So, you know, with Jameis Winston, he's just such a wild card. I mean, he could go and throw for 410 yards, or he could throw for 5 interceptions. Just never know. And the Saints defense, they do have, you know, some talent at all 3 levels, even though they lost Lattimore. So that's interesting. Very rarely do you see a line in the NFL as high as 13.5, which it's gotten up to now, Detroit, Jacksonville. And so, I mean, I understand, like, you know, but to your point, like, we're at what, week 12 now? Is that right?
Week 11.
Week 11, right? Zig when people zag. This is pretty chalky. Jacksonville's been feisty, and they've been, I mean, they played their heart out against Minnesota. So that tells you they're not quitting. And, you know, you look at their schedule, they played a pretty brutal schedule. I mean, they have lost a lot of games, but they've been very competitive. I mean, I think in probably 6 of their 8 losses, maybe 7 of their 8 losses, within a score. So, you know,
with Trevor Lawrence, though. We got the Mac Jones experiment going on now.
I understand. And but again, they have some talent on their offense. And Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff played worse than not Bo Nix, but he played worse than Mac Jones last week. Wouldn't you agree with that? I mean, he was awful. So I would think he would bounce back. That's why I'd feel pretty good about Detroit right now. But again, I mean, this year, I mean, I know a respected sports handicapper that is 20-30 on the year in terms of picks. I also know that.
Are you talking about our little $100 league?
Yeah, I'm talking about you. I wasn't going to call you out. You're 20-30 on the year. But more importantly, like the New Orleans, I don't know if you saw this stat, Tony. The Saints have led more this season than the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of total amount of time leading in games. That, to me, is one of the most absurd stats. One of the worst teams in the league, a 3-win team, more time leading than the 9-0 Chiefs. Like, it's just a wacky year. And you just, you know, that's why it's such a hard year to bet. I mean, look at look at anybody in that league, right? I mean, anybody in our little betting league, like nobody's running away with it because the picks are just so difficult. So it is challenging. In theory, Jacksonville, Detroit seems like the most obvious one. Wisconsin, Oregon, I mean, that's college, but there's the number one team going down potentially to the Badgers. But again, I look at Miami and Vegas, and yes, Miami could and probably should win by 14 points. They have a very good pass defense in their numbers, but their scoring defense for Miami, bottom half of the league, right? So a lot of people look at Miami and say, well, they stopped the run well. Well, it doesn't matter because Vegas isn't going to run the ball, and they stop the pass pretty well, but they're giving up a lot of points. So and you have a new coordinator, so you just never know. And I'm really fascinated this week. I think this could be one of those weeks that everybody goes by, or it could be a week where we have 17 people left at the end of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a high carnage week. We talked about it ad nauseum on Thursday's show, but that rest disadvantage here for the Dolphins playing on Monday night and their opponents having a bye week, that's a big deal. Packers in the opposite situation. They're the ones on the bye week, although it is a road game for them. They got a little bit of a rest advantage there in that one. Ryan, the question I ask you every week, what's going to be the top team to go down based off of these?
I always answer it first. Why don't you go first? I feel like we addressed that last time.
I think the Dolphins could go down because of that rest disadvantage. It would not surprise me one bit if we see the Raiders upset the Dolphins. So I'm going to go with that one, number 2.
Oof. I'm going to go with the Rams. I think the Rams are, kind of one of those teams where one week they look like a playoff team. The next week they look like they probably should have traded a lot of their assets. And the Patriots are playing hard, man. They're playing hard. Yeah. And I think with Christian coming back on that D-line, I mean, he's a stud. And that was a big loss, all year. And their offense is just feisty enough that they'll keep it close. Their defense is going to manhandle, I think, their offensive line up front with the Rams. And I think that's going to be a close game. That's a white knuckler, definitely, for those people on the Rams.
For sure. And as I look at these selection counts, if I'm looking at who the big winners are just based off the selection counts, obviously the Browns people are happy, but they knew there weren't going to be many people on the Browns. 49er people are happy. Texans people are happy. I think the Rams people are happy. Vikings people are happy. Packers people are very happy. And I think the Lions people are a little disappointed, and Miami people are maybe a bit neutral here with 31 people on the Dolphins. Ryan, I'm pulling up Survivor Atlas right now on my phone. You see all that blue at the top there? The guy was 6. He went Lions times 6. All 6 of his entries. What do you think of that move?
I mean, again, I would be more. I would feel better if he had 5 on the Lions and 1 on the Browns, to be honest with you. Like, even though I don't like the Browns, I get it. Like, hey, he's still alive and I'm not, so he obviously knows a lot more than I do. But man,
former champs, Jags, both on the Dolphins. Thought that was interesting. We're at a point now where only 7 people have more than 1 entry. I'm going to go ahead and read you. Dr. Strange has Miami and Houston. White Lotus has Detroit and Miami. Attack of the Survivor, I think is the name. 49ers, Detroit. C3 picks, Green Bay, Miami. Jags, 2 Miami. And then tie 18-23, 1 Packers, 1 Rams. So decent little spread there. Ryan, we're going to go live again. I don't remember if it's Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, but do you have a special guest lined up for us next week?
Yes, I do. And this is probably my most excited guest I'm going to have on this year. I've given them Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Central. So it's going to be one of those 3 days. They just confirmed, but not the day yet. The person that has cut me the most in my entire life, former head coach Mike Tice, is going to be our special guest. So I'm excited. He and I have stayed in contact through the years. He was obviously the head coach with Minnesota Vikings and a longtime assistant coach. I had him in Jacksonville. He was an assistant coach all over the place. So he It's going to be great.
That's a good one, man. That is a great poll. Nice work on that. Excited to have him on the show. Folks, if you want to ask Mike Tice a question, if you want to get in on the Survivor Talk, make sure you tune in. Again, we'll keep you posted. I usually do a pretty good job on my Twitter at Tony's Market Tips, letting you guys know when these episodes are out. So stay tuned to that if you want to see the exact time and date. But really excited to have that conversation with Mike Tice. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ryan, where are you watching the games? Are you going to a bar? Are you staying home?
I'll be at a sports bar watching them all. I, obviously have to go somewhere where I can watch the Raiders because I have my post-game show. But I'll be interested in all the games, and I love right in Newport, right by the pier. There's a Sharkies, Baja Sharkies, that has all the games and pretty good food. So that's right.
You're pretty brave, letting people out there know exactly your location tomorrow, man.
Well,
you're brave.
I mean, hopefully I didn't cause anybody to lose in Survivor where they're going to come at me with a machete.
Remember what you said week 4.
Yeah.
Someone's going to pop out of the bushes. That's funny. Good stuff. Well, good luck to everybody tomorrow. Again, stay tuned for when the next episode comes out. Please drop us a like, drop us a comment. Those help us a lot with the algorithm on YouTube and on Twitter. So we appreciate that very much. Stay tuned for that episode with Mike Tice next week. Ryan, thanks so much for the time. Everybody, good luck, especially those of you. I think we got 2, 3, 4 listeners that are still in Circa Survivor. Especially best of luck to you guys on your path to $14.266 million. Take care, everybody.